Hey guys, okay, so I want you to imagine this scenario. You've got a house and it's located in the TBC or traditional building character overlay. When you look at the 1946 aerial photo, the house is not visible in that aerial photo, but you've been told the building card suggests that the house was approved in like April 1946, May 1946, June, you get the idea, at some point in 1946. Is the house protected? Short answer, it could be. See, the cutoff for protection is the final day in 1946, so December 31st, 1946. Now, this naturally leads to the question of, well, how do I prove the construction commenced or substantially commenced before the end of the year? Like, it was approved at that date, but they could have sat on it for a year, right? Yeah, they could have. This exact scenario came up earlier this morning. The gentleman had a building card that suggested it was approved in April 1946. So what do we do from here? Well, given this question has come up a couple of times recently, I thought, hey, why don't we use this week's video to talk through the resources or the stepping stone process that you guys need to go through to try and work out whether the house is protected or not. So, first step in the process is to go to Q Imagery. Now, I have recorded a video on this previously, so I will link it in the comments below, but essentially you want to go to that resource and you want to look up the old aerial photos. You want to look at the most recent photo. No, what am I trying to say here? You want to look at the earliest photo after 1946. So typically that's like a 1949 aerial photo. It does vary from site to site. Usually you can find one around that time period. Now, if you look at that aerial photo and the house is not present in the aerial photo, then the chances are that it was not constructed before the end of 1946. I say chances are because, as you would have seen from last week's video, relocator houses are protected as well, so they can slip through, bit of a pain, but chances are that it's not going to pre-1946. So the next step then is to jump on the phone to council and try and get to look up the building card. Now, building cards were introduced in roughly 1945, or I should say individual property building cards. There was a joint register before that, but it's too complex to try and decipher. So the individual cards came in 1945. So if you look at the building card and it says that it was approved for construction in 1947 or afterwards, then again, chances are post 46. I'm going to keep saying chances are because there's always going to be some weird and wonderful scenario that I can't possibly imagine. So I need to cover my backside here by saying chances are. So yeah, 47 onwards, you're safe. If it was approved for construction in 1946, 1945, or if there is no record on the building card which suggests it was pre-45, then okay, you're back at that whole what if sort of turning point, I guess, again. Next step from there is to go to Brisbane City Archives at Maruka. Now, I'd suggest you check out their opening times, all that sort of stuff, because they're not open to the public every single day. But basically, you want to go in there and see what information they have access to, what records they have on the property. Because they have access to things like the water connection records, rates ledgers, valuation registers, sewage connection information. I think there's a heap of stuff, basically. That's the moral of the story. There's a lot of information there. But the problem is not every single property is going to have all of that information. They can also sometimes look up the building cards for you and see if there's a completion date on that building card. Don't get your hopes up. Like, that is super, and I mean super rare to find, but sometimes those building cards did record the completion dates. So you want to basically go in there and see what information, if any, they can throw at you to help try and work out when the use commenced. Oh, drainage plans, that's another one they have access to. Lots of stuff. This is basically what I'm trying to say. So you want to go in there and you want to look at all of that. Now, the final step I'd probably suggest is to do a historical, if I get my words out, historical title search, because you can look at that and sometimes pick up when they took out a mortgage on the property. But, give you a word of warning there, the mortgage does not necessarily act as a precursor to starting construction. Like these days, you normally take out a mortgage before you start building. Back then, you could take out a mortgage partway through or after construction. So the big point I want to get across with all of this is you can't use one bit of information alone to date the house. Like if you come across that mortgage date, or if you come across a sewage connection record or something, rubbish removal record, whatever it is, you can't go, boom, problem solved, I'm post 1946. You need, I'd suggest, probably at least 3 bits of information before you can start to go, okay, I'm feeling comfortable here. We can start to say that this happened post 46. So for example, if everything's lining up in 1948 or 1949, you go, okay, well, chances are it didn't take them 2 or 3 years to construct the house. Back then, things popped up really, really quickly, I've been told. So yeah, chances are that it is going to be post 1946. Now, what happens if you get to that weird and wonderful spot where you can't decide, like there's a bit of information over here and there's a bit of information over here, which way do you go? Yeah, I don't know. I've had a chat to a planning lawyer contact that I have, and she suggested that she believes the onus of proof is always with the applicant when it comes to determining the pre-47 status. It is not with council. So therefore, if an issue comes up down the track or a question comes up down the track, it's on you to prove that the house was built after 1946. So I guess you've just got to apply common sense here. You've got to cover your backside as in many directions as you can. Now, if all of this just sounds way too overwhelming, like you don't have the time, you just don't have the inclination, or you just want to make sure you've got that extra reassurance of someone who lives and breathes this stuff all the time, then what I'd suggest is that you reach out to Marianne Taylor from The House Detective. Now, I interviewed her last week in the House Relocator video, and this is the stuff that she lives and breathes. Like, she can read those records in her sleep, those archival records, stuff that I sort of look at myself and just go, I have no idea what this is telling me. Like, this is way too complicated. What does this actually mean? She goes, oh, look, I can tell this. And I'm like, well, yeah, anyway. So, shout out for her. If, like I said, you just don't want to go down this pathway yourself, or you don't have time, whatever the reason is, reach out to her and see what services she can offer you. We've done it on quite a few jobs recently, ones that were a bit more complex and non-standard, and she has been amazing at helping us. Okay, I think that covers off everything I wanted to talk about. Final point I just want to make, just to make it crystal clear, going through this step does not give you that 100% certainty, but it does give, because like I said, relocators, they always throw a curveball out there, but it does help get you on the right pathway to try and work out whether a house is protected or not. You cannot rely on that 1946 aerial photo for that purpose. Please remember that. Okay, that covers off everything that I wanted to talk about today. As I always say, until next time, thanks for watching.
For all you red tape lovers out there, I have one thing to say. Well, no, actually, I've got three. Number one, the advice provided in these videos is general in nature. It's not site specific. You would be a silly Billy to go and make financial decisions based on this advice without first checking with the town planner. Don't be a silly Billy. Number two, Brisbane town planning is in no way linked to Brisbane City Council. The views expressed in these videos are my own, not council's. So if you don't like them, blame me, not council. Number three, what was my number three? Oh yeah, the views expressed in these videos are accurate at the time of recording. If you're watching this video back 10 years from now, the views may not be so accurate. That's all.